on the path, in the end game portion of the path. And yeah, we're gonna be talking about Path of Magic endgame slash after mid game. Because as I mentioned, it's designed to be a longer lasting version of Valheim, where there's more stuff to do, so to speak, right? So how do I manage that? The main thing is basically making it so that this path is extremely long. Because I've noticed that one of the things that happens is people sort of find spots. They like finding spots and building on them. And the longer the path is, and the more extensively it goes through different biomes, then the more chances to do so occur, right? So you can see that there is some problems going on here, some danger, because once you fall off of this, sometimes it's not so easy to get back onto it, right? And you can see that the game is running smoothly. Well, that's because, wonderfully, I had forgotten to adjust the boot config file, and Pan reminded me, and it made a huge difference in the Mistlands assets here. Like a huge difference. I was surprised. If you saw the end of the previous stream, when I was like running down the path like this, my frame rate went to like, I don't know, like 10 frames or something. It got like really messed up. And just adjusting the boot config file was enough to change that, which was kind of surprising because I'm used to boot config being useful, but maybe like 5 or 10%, not making it go from like 10 frames to full frames, you know? So let me actually show you what that is real quick, because it's in your benefit that you know about this. And in the Valheim world editing group, there is a sample. So I can just show you exactly what it is real quick, and it has some instructions. So if I go into the right place here, just give me a moment to pull it up. Boot config. Here we go. Okay. Alright, so this is a guide by Ashenius, and it is in the Valheim World Editing Discord. You can find links to this Discord in my YouTube content, but it's Yair's Discord group. So any of Yair's mods also have the link to Valheim World Editing. And Ashenius has this little guide here. It's basically a little text file that you change in your Valheim data, and it just sort of optimizes how Valheim uses your graphic card. So you basically replace this part with what your file already has, and then you keep your build GUID part, okay? That's all you have to do, and then you just replace it in a file. It's pretty simple. And it can make a pretty drastic difference. Like, this is a completely playable experience now. I'm actually very surprised because when I did that before, I only noticed a little bit of a change. Like, it helped boost my frame rate a little bit, but I didn't notice that drastic of a difference. Whereas in the Mistlands, holy crap, it made a huge difference. And as you noticed, well, maybe you noticed, but in Path of Magic, the Mistlands has multiple levels. So you can see this looks more like normal Mistlands, right? It's got mist, you see it? Whereas earlier, did you notice that there wasn't really any mist there? Well, that's because there's 2 tiers of mist in Path of Magic. There's the first level, which is pretty much no mist. It's only around the skeletons and different things like that. And then there's the second level, the Outer Rim, and it's full mist. However, there's also other things you can do to adjust. This is the final boss chest. If we bravely come over here, we can see the Queen boss chest. And the Queen's chest is super expensive. 16 full piles of coins and 160 black cores. What can I say? It's the final boss chest. I'm not sure how balanced that is, but that's how it is for now. And that's why I refer to everything else as end game. Pretty much like this point right here is a bit less than half of the total path so far. But the path itself wraps and winds around and like is going all the way to the deep north after going through the Ashlands. And so what I'm going to try and get to, I don't know if it's going to happen given my lack of preparation in any way whatsoever aside from making this character. Yes, 160 black cores. But also keep in mind, by this point in Palm, black cores are sometimes found in sunken crypts and also burial chambers. So it's not quite the same as getting them from infested mines normally. And also on Path of Magic, you can pay 999 coins, which all dungeons, including burial chambers, provide at least 999 coins and materials to sell. You can pay that and it'll reset the entire dungeon. So it's much easier on Palm to farm dungeons for loot because you only need to have one and then you can just keep redoing it. And additionally, they all reset twice a month, or twice a week, sorry. Okay, I'm gonna pop into last chance here before I get ganked and lose the fact that I just ran through the most dangerous part of the Mistlands and survived. That part of the path is really sketchy. I got lucky, there weren't any Zhao, but that's not typical. There's often many Zhao. I think down here there should be something. I don't remember where the beds in this base are. Why do I feel like they're upstairs? This is such a cool spot because it has changed and so many different players have come here. It is like honestly quite fascinating. It originally started, I think a character named Eric the Red came to this spot because it's the last black forest before the Ashlands, basically. Because in Path of Magic, you can just go to the Ashlands. Oh, Yannick asks a very good question. Are there any custom mechanics from Palm I should know of as a first-time blind player? Yes, definitely. The vast majority of them, no, you don't need to know about them. You can find out about them as you play, and that'll make it sort of more fun. But there are certain things you should definitely know about. One second. Let me find some clothes here. I'm sure I can make something more reasonable. No, but I can make arrows. Okay. So the first thing to know on Path of Magic is that all of the elemental arrows and the silver arrows as well are AoE explosive magic weaponry. So pretty much you're gonna find a lot of situations on Palm that are way more intense, where there's lots of monsters and you have to deal with all that. And the key to that is using different mechanics, right? So conveniently, this base is perfect, actually. Another mechanic that is good to know about are these builder's bells. So in this case, we're going to, let's see, remove bell, I think it is. Is that right? No, it's just remove. That's right. Say remove. So let's imagine that you find a new spot and you want to build there, but there's the presence of some kind of dangerous monster. You can make what is called builder's bells, which, yeah, I'll have to loot things because I'm on a new character. All right. I need to find some tar, some fine wood, and some other stuff. Let's see. And this is all food, right? Yeah, all food. I have no idea where things are stored here, as you can tell. This is all gear and equipment. Yeah, okay. Okay, interesting. Hey, here we go. Here's some fine wood. There we go. Now, let's just loot this and put it all back. I think I need some iron. Is that right? Is that what I need? Iron nails. That's right. Iron nails. Whoa. Sorry about this order here. Alright. Yeah, now I can make these iron nails, and then I should be good. Oh, no. Am I on the upgrade tab? No. There's no metal here. No iron, at least. Okay. Interesting, interesting. Interesting. Well, I can't make a builder's bell without taking something apart. But I'm not sure where something obvious is. So I'll just get onto it. But basically, you build 3 darkwood chairs next to each other. Just like the... Let's imagine these are darkwood chairs. You would go this, this, and then this. And then it automatically builds a special bell. And then you just hit the bell, and it will fear all the enemies within 30 meters and then make them vanish. So you won't kill them. You won't get any of their loot, but they'll go away. So you can use that to clear an area and keep it safe while you get started building. And there's a lot of different mechanics like that that are meant to be things that encourage players by giving the players more tools, essentially. You can probably hear a little rooster in the background there. He's in El Baño. Alright, I think... Oh, no. I almost forgot the most important thing. I have to find a bed. The beds used to be up in the rafters up here. I don't know how they are now. I'm just going to build a bed up in the rafters. Sounds reasonable to me. Definitely don't want to redo that Mistlands area, because I got very lucky, because there's often Xiao there, and the Xiao and also the Bone Mole on Path of Magic are super buffed. So give me a moment. I'm going to shut Little Rooster's door. Hey, oh Yannick, you found the quarry, I guess? So Yannick says, I wish I knew about the builder's bell last night. I was trying to set up the camp in Labrat spot. You used to have the conveyor belt system built from a week or 2 ago. Yeah, so I think that's the quarry, we call that. There's like a burial chamber right outside and also a copper node, and the base has like that kind of squiggly hallway to it, right? Oh gosh. I have to remember the shaman, they can like shoot. Uh-oh. I don't like that noise. I don't like that noise. Oh god. This is bad. No rested bonus. I was an idiot. I'm so screwed. Maybe Odin will save me. Save me! No, 2 rolls. Every time the Death Skeeto attacks, there is a chance that Odin will just kill the Death Skeeto. Or remove the Death Skeeto. But I'm not getting lucky. It's 3 times in a row where I didn't get lucky. Oh god, where's the Death Skeeto? Oh, there it is. Okay. Hey, where's the goblin? Alright. I don't like how well the... Oh, alright, you're distracted there? Okay. I don't like how well the cold effects hid the goblin. It's like perfect. Alright, let me just get down here a little bit, otherwise I'm gonna get wrecked by gosh knows what. Hey, I guess someone's been over here, because there was mist here before. And so players can remove the mist in Path of Magic as well. But that's another thing. Yeah, Zhal. Yeah, you're right. Y'all, not Zhal. One second. Alright, Constantine said, hey JP, sorry to interrupt. I have an idea that the conveyor can be cycled on itself, right? So that the coal and ore go round and round without... Yeah. Yep. You can do that. Basically, there's one thing to know about the conveyor system that is important. And it fills in kilns and these things. But if you just build the conveyor up to the kiln, then it's going to drop everything there. What you have to do is build the smelter and then clip a conveyor underneath the smelter. And then that'll make the items actually go through the smelter. And then you can make that loop that you're talking about. You make a circular conveyor, and everything just keeps going, and you can load everything up over and over and over that way. I'll talk a bit about the origin of this path, but let me get back to one of the earlier comments. Let's see. Yes, because Yannick asked about important mechanics to survive on Path of Magic and to build. So the Builder's Bell is definitely really useful, but that you can't use straight away because you need iron nails, tar, and fine wood. Mechanics that you can use straight away that are really important are the bubble blocking mechanic. So in Path of Magic, melee has been buffed a lot in multiple ways. The main way is the bubble blocking system. So anytime you block an attack and survive, you will get a bubble shield, irregardless to what shield you're using or weapon you're using. If you block and you survive, you had enough health plus block level plus block armor to survive, or whatever function it is, then you get a bubble shield. That bubble shield prevents you from being one hit killed, meaning you could get a weak mob to hit you, block it, get the bubble shield with 25 health, and then get hit by a 2-star fueling, and you would not die. And what's even crazier is as long as you continue holding block, then each time you lose the bubble shield, you will then get a new one as well. It makes block much more effective defensively. So essentially, when you're holding block, you're not quite invulnerable, but you're pretty close to invincible. The moment you attack, you open up. Because if 2 hits land, like if an arrow shoots and a melee enemy attacks at the same time, the first attack will get rid of your shield. And the second attack will, well, it'll kill you, right? This system allows players to use a lot more melee builds in endgame more effectively. And I can't show you that right now, obviously. I'm in the Ashlands, I'm naked, I have nothing. This is not the ideal position to be in to show that mechanic. But aside from that, the rest of the melee things are relatively simple. So you can... Morgan, not great. This feels nerve-wracking. I'm like relatively safe up here, but it's still nerve-wracking. You can also heal yourself in melee combat. So when you kill enemies, there's a chance, as long as that enemy dies right next to your character, like within 3 or 4 meters, there's a chance to heal you fully and give you more stamina. So that, combined with the bubble blocking, allows these defensive options that you really have to try out to get used to. Then there's the elemental arrows. And there's only one other mechanic I would say is critical to know about, and it's that all silver weapons in Path of Magic do explosive AoE lightning effects. So they're very, very powerful. And one of the sort of drawbacks to that is that it can kill you. So you have to be careful. Actually, one of the players joined recently, and they had a silver sword. And I got some messages, and they were like, why does Odin keep killing us with lightning? And I was like, what on earth is going on here? How is that happening? And then it turns out, no. It's not that Odin is killing them with lightning. It's that the silver sword is triggering the lightning bolts. And then the lightning bolt shows up 2 seconds later. So when you fight with the silver sword, it like one-shots most enemies. It's incredibly powerful. So you have to learn to like trigger it and then get away from the spot, because the lightning bolt is gonna go there. And if you don't know that, then you're gonna use silver on undead and then get killed by a lightning bolt and be confused. and in the previous case, it was quite interesting because the other players, they actually thought it was Odin who was killing them, which was really amusing to me. Really, really amusing. I like it when players infer things that, like, I always take the player, I just assume they're right. But then sometimes I look in the files and then I realize, like, I see what was going on here. So the Ashlands, now there's some chatter. I'll catch up to the talk in a little bit, but first I'll talk about why there is a path going into the Ashlands like this. Because if you think about it, that invalidates the progression. I'm on a new character, I can just run to Ashlands. What's the point of that, right? Can't I just come here and get all this flame metal and, you know, farm all these charred monsters and Morgan, you know? Well, obviously, not entirely. I like how there's little bits here that are like under construction that for some reason don't have invincibility, so they break. It's super cool. But basically, what I've found is the no map, no portal experience in Ashlands is just not, I would classify it as not enjoyable. In all honesty. Like, don't get me wrong, it's an interesting, like, if you are with a group of people and you really know how to play Valheim, it's certainly an interesting warfare attrition challenge. Don't get me wrong about that, I'm not saying it's not. But for the typical player, even a typical no map, no portal player, I don't think it's a good experience. It's just too draining. You need sheer absurd quantities of items. It's very hard to know all the things that you need the first time you go there, so you're inevitably doomed to go to the Ashlands and like sail there and take forever and then not bring everything you needed and then not have a way to portal back. And like I just don't think it's a good experience on no map, no portal mode. So I decided after watching people and also after experiencing myself to change the way it works. So instead of that, players can still get the Drakkar, all that stuff still happens. But there's this main path that goes to a central citadel in the Ashlands. And this citadel, it'll be a little bit laggy here because it's a town area that is surrounded by invincible walls. So the idea is that I felt like the Ashlands didn't feel right because it didn't have enough. Oh, I never fixed this Morgan cave. I'm sorry. Yeah, I fucked up and there's now a Morgan cave that spawned in the middle of the place and I forgot to remove it. But it's kind of funny actually, to be honest. It wasn't there before. The Citadel is a super safe place, basically, where monsters can't get. And those outside walls are like fully invincible. So the idea is that like the Ashlands has a lot of really cool stuff, but especially on no map, no portal, it's so extremely gated that it's just not accessible to most people. So I wanted to really open up the Ashlands and make it possible that, you know, if a player wants to just join, they've played Valheim, and they want to start later on in the game, you know, then they can do that on Path of Magic. They could join on like a Plains character or whatever, and then like go to the Mistlands area, do some stuff there, or they could even come to this spot. And this is where the safety ends. So the path continues. We are approximately 2/3 of the way that we need to go, but it's still only a small portion. Because this next part, I highly doubt I'm going to be able to stay alive as easy. That freaking scared me. Fluffy, you are terrifying. You know, I only recently realized that Asksvin are actually just powerful necks. Like, they're literal necks that have evolved. It's like a Pokemon, you know? Neck is the starting form, and then Asksvin is like the evolved form. This one looks freaky. It looks freaking freaky. I don't like this guy. Fluffy doesn't help. I don't like Fluffy. I don't know who Fluffy is, but he's making me feel uncomfortable. Alright, I guess I should actually take some food here and be smart. I'm gonna lose things. Like, there's no way this is gonna work out. I am not expecting anything here. I'm assuming what I really need is rested bonuses and stamina. So, let's see. I need a fire, that's right. People haven't been here in a while, so all the fires are out. Let's fix that here. It's so funny seeing this base too, because this one building was like, yeah, a lot of stuff has evolved over time, and there's more people building stuff than I noticed straight away. So I often see things later, and it's really cool seeing how, like, yeah, someone came here, organized all this stuff, added all these labels. It's really cool. I made like the external frame of this building at some point, but it was much more cubular. And they changed it, they added that visibility, these patterns over there. It's nice. And so if you want to play the Ashlands on Palm, and you feel like that's the part of the game you want to experience more, that's what the Citadel is for. It's a safe place in the Ashlands that you can build in and know that, like, you're not going to get ganked or spawn camped in here, most likely. That Morgan Cave is kind of, I don't know how I feel about that. I might need to get rid of it, but at the same time, as long as the Morgan is only ever on the inside, I don't know, maybe it's not that much of a problem. But for now, we're going to continue. After you get to the Citadel, there is a whole other path system, but it's not as forgiving as the previous path. The previous path is designed to show you some Ashlands without you having to, you know, go and die in the Ashlands yourself. You can just look down at it from relative safety. You can start getting a little bit used to how things are, and you can spy some monsters off in the distance, etc., etc. That all ends once you pass the Citadel. And what I'm going to try and do now is get to the true end game area, because there is actually an end game arena continent with a special mechanic that I want to show all of you, where you collect trophies, mount them in special shrines, and then once you have all the trophies in the game from normal monsters, not bosses, you can summon Fader and fight him in a special loop where, like, you fight him while you're running down a path that goes in a huge circle. So, like, it's this whole thing. I'm excited about it. I'll have to, it'll be like a whole part of the live stream. It's all like building up to that. But today I'll give like a little tease of it and show it. But before I get off to that, let's look at the chat real quick, because I see that you were all chatting a little bit. That's awesome. I love it when the players like tell each other about their experience in these things. It's really cool. Constantine said, Yannick, my advice, you don't need a huge base. It would be a waste of time unless you like building something unusual. The whole sky path has a lot of safe houses and other players' bases. Absolutely. And just so you know, basically the further down the path you get, the less developed it is. And that's why I want to have it really, really long. The path doesn't go in like a straight direction. It's more like a spiral. Because the longer it is, the more space available for new players to come and find spots that don't have enough bases. Like, right now, all bases end in the Mistlands. There's, like, nothing in the Mistlands. Like, there's like, one or two little safe houses. And trust me, with Zhao, that part of the path is a stretch. So, like, we need more safe houses there. And then also, as you saw, when I passed over the ocean and everything, I didn't see anything in the Ashlands until this point. And that's how it's going to be moving forward. You will barely see any kind of bases. So this is like my invitation, because that's, for me, with the experience on Palm that works, is to use the path itself as your progression. And find the spot on the path that feels right for you, right? Some people might want to play in the Black Forest. Other people might want to stick to the meadows in the very beginning. And other people might want to go to the later parts of the game to experience the Mistlands that they didn't get a chance to experience before. And knowing it's a Mistlands without as much mist, and there's also ways that players can permanently remove mist, by the way. The Mistwalker sword permanently removes mist in Path of Magic. So many more other things. But now let's move on. I'll see to the next comment, which is by Panand. Yeah, as Panand says, Yan, the sea is dangerous. On the other hand, there is lots of serpent meat. Great 2-meat food for quite a long time. Yeah, serpent meat is everywhere. You're bound to find some in people's bases. And you can, honestly, you can just take it. If someone gets mad at you for taking serpent meat, I don't know. I doubt that's gonna happen. There's so much serpent meat on Palm. It is not the same as vanilla Valheim, where serpents have to be looked for. On Path of Magic, serpents are everywhere. There are so many serpents, I have to remove them once a week automatically on a schedule. And the players have ways to fear the serpents and get rid of them. And that's because the fish turn into serpents. Yeah, that's the secret. That's how it works. Yannick says, Constantine, I figured that much since you're on the move most of the time. I just don't feel like using other people's stuff. Yeah, no, I feel you there. And like the thing I recommend is when you first join, you should find an area that like just explore for a bit, get a feel for the path, see how you feel. And in that place, like just use other people's bases just as checkpoints, right? And for me, the way I enjoy things is I do that, and then I look around for a spot that I feel like, okay, I like this spot. I want to build something here. And then I start my progression in that area. That's how I like to play. But everyone's welcome to do it different ways. And you don't need to just like use other people's stuff. It's more like using the beds, using the checkpoints so that you can travel to a point where you want to work on something or build it. That's the idea, right? So let's see. Now we have Constantine says, here we go. Oh no, there's a comment from Tigran Kornen. Sorry, I didn't see your comment earlier. Yes, this is a public server. You can join. Just check out my videos or look in the description. You're looking for a Discord channel called the Poolside, which is a community Discord channel. And then you have to follow some instructions to find the information, okay? But it's all there, it's public. It's just you gotta follow a couple steps in these things. And all that you need to do is just get that information in that Discord, and then you'll be able to join. There's no mod pack or anything, although I do encourage you to use a couple mods, particularly Better Networking and Dungeon Splitter, and Comfy Quick Slots, or any kind of Quick Slots mod. On Path of Magic, when you die, you keep all of this stuff. So having these 3 extra slots, I find that like it's just so useful because you can make it like, are you a player who's tired of coming back to life and you don't have any food? Well, then you just put some food in your quick slots, and every time you die, you'll have food. Or maybe you're a player who is tired of having to like open up the menu to change your arrow type, you know? But with quick slots, you don't need to. You can just put different arrow types in, and then you can just equip them like that. It's very simple. So there's lots of different ways that the quick slots mod comes into play, and I consider it basically like a vanilla thing. I know it's not, but for me, it's such a fundamentally useful mechanic that I think that the player should have 3 protected slots that allow them to, you know, keep items when they die. I don't believe in punishing players artificially or increasing punishments when people die. In general, it's not something I think is effective. And hello, Dr. Smog. Hello. Welcome, welcome. And then Constantine has a comment about the passages. Haha. Yeah, the passages are an interesting thing. But I won't go too much into detail about them, because a lot of the joy of the passages comes from finding them. Oh, really? That's interesting. I didn't know that not all the quick slot mods have you keep. I thought it's the world modifier that handles that, isn't it? Because like if you die on a normal world, you don't keep this stuff. But that's because of the world modifier being set to a casual death penalty, I think. Something like that. Ah, okay, gotcha. Oh, so Pan, I think you might have, maybe you tested on a world that had the world modifier set, but even on Path of Magic, if Path of Magic doesn't have the casual world modifier set for difficulty, then there are 2 tombstones with comfy quick slots, or sorry, with the one I use as well. It has to do with the world modifier, because if you keep your equipment on death, then the 2 tombstone thing doesn't happen. But if you don't keep your equipment on death, then it does. I think that's how it works. And at some point when there were 2 tombstones, it was because I messed up the world modifiers when I downloaded the file. I think that's what happened. But at this point, I've caught up. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to continue down the more dangerous part of the path. And I absolutely fully expect myself to die here. So I should probably redo my rested buff real quick. I'm going to take a moment to collect my thoughts because I want to explain the endgame sort of mechanic now, because I'm pretty much going to be running for a while. There aren't anywhere near as many checkpoints moving forward. Alright, so I've talked a lot about endgame, but base building isn't really, you know, that base building isn't enough alone. It's just one part of the picture. And I mentioned that bosses are changed, right? And bosses are endgame or late mid-game. So what did I mean by that? Well, here's how the boss system works, and there's a basics of it that applies to most situations, and then there are variants. So I'll explain to you how the the basic system works. These odds are so bad. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to make it through this area, to be honest. But pretty much the bosses in Palm have timers, and they are much more powerful. Oh, thank you, Baliog, thank you. Oh, I didn't get... I didn't even get to the... I did find... Baliog made these safe houses. I forgot about that. So maybe it is possible for me to make it there. The thing is, I need to be able to block to get a bubble shield, but what mob could I block against that wouldn't kill me straight away? Honestly, I don't know. I don't even know if there's anything. So I guess I need to be a little bit more strategic here. So I'll just set this up while I'm explaining. Now, on Path of Magic, each boss fight has a time limit. So you only get, like for Eikthyr, for example, you have to kill him in 2 minutes. And if you don't kill him in 2 minutes, then you lose. Oh. Okay, so I can get a bubble block this way, I bet, but then I have no stamina. Whatever. I think it's probably a better strategy, to be honest. So when you fight the bosses, they have huge time constraints, and this is necessary because in vanilla Valheim, all bosses can be cheesed with various strategies, and the cheese always relies on aging. You need to, in order to make cheese, you need to take a long time. It's true in the real world, and it's also true in video games. So if you want to prevent players from cheesing bosses, all you have to do is set a time limit into the boss, and it is possible to work around, but it is very, very challenging to find a scenario that kills a boss in 2 minutes versus kills a boss in unlimited time. Make sense? And Valheim normally has unlimited time. And I'll talk about the problems a bit, actually, because what I've found is certain problems. So the boss system was made to address these specific... Oh no, I have an idea. I have a much better idea than this nonsense I'm about to try. There's probably some trophies in this base. And I can use the trophies to summon like a weak monster. Probably. I just need to find... There's probably something labeled trophies somewhere. Just want to pick these up. Sorry to get distracted like that. But if I can get a weak monster that's aggressive to attack me, I can get a bubble shield. And that'll make it way easier to survive. I have no idea where things are, though. I haven't, like, been in a lot of these bases in a while. I'm not even sure there would be that many trophies from earlier game stuff, to be honest. Food. Interesting. Well, c'est la vie. I'm just gonna accept this. Maybe I should just use something. Probably would be smart of me to do something. Let's see. I'll take the Aspen Cape. Here we go. Maybe the Wind Run will save me. That works. Yeah, there we go. I feel appropriately armored now. Oh, the arrow rain. That's a good idea. So Pan says to use the attack from the arrow archer, basically. I should probably also get a weapon, but that feels too easy. So I think I'm just gonna run. And I'll probably die again. No, 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 I need a hammer. Wait, no, my body has a hammer. Yeah, my body has a hammer. I'm good, I'm good. Let's see, I'll try and get in that little cube. And then I can keep talking about the boss stuff. And you can see why this part of the path is so much more dangerous. Gone is the just sky path part that's totally safe. Now you have to actually be near monsters, right? And I don't know what happened to all the chard that were right next to me, but I think I'm safe from the blob here. Baliog, I trust him. I think he made it work. All right, here we go. It's kind of suspicious that there's no beds in here, though. Oh, I mean, I feel like this needs to be directly in the center. Oh God. Leave me alone. No, don't do that. Don't you come in here. Okay. I need to leave. Can you break my bubble and like go away? Oh my God. That did not work. Missing requirement. What am I missing? Oh, the wood. And there's no workbench. I need a bubble. No, I need this. Oh God, oh God. Oh my God. This is so terrifying. Okay, now I need another bubble. See, as long as I keep blocking and I don't get too encumbered, I'll be alright. This is the power of health, shield, and bubble blocking. Okay, another block. Now I get the spawn. Now I just run. Fuck this. Oh my God. Yeah, don't worry, Pan. If I end up spawn blocked or like locked, I'll just like end it. I might not make it to the area I'm trying to get to. I'm just trying to get to like the safer bits where there is sky path, because the Ashlands part of the path is actually just portions of it are really dangerous. So as long as I make it to these bits, I'll be all right. And I probably won't make it to the end. Like, I've just accepted that. I'm not going to worry about, like if I actually wanted to make sure that I guaranteed make it, I don't have enough time. My internet's going to cut out and, like, I don't know. I still have, like, an hour and a half, but, whatever. It's all right. This is more fun. I like the risk of knowing I'll go back to the Citadel. But also, it's more thrilling when there's something at stake, right? Makes it more funny when I lose it all inevitably. So what I was getting at is that the bosses have this issue where I don't know about you all. I know that people talk about boss fights and they have memorable experiences. I'm of the belief that those experiences are memorable because they're group interactions with other players, not because of the boss fights themselves. The boss fights are just a reason that people group up and do something together. But ultimately, the boss experience is often very disappointing, very frustrating, and very loopy. And when I've observed people, when I've play tested, also back when also back when I've just played as a normal player, I've found that there's this dynamic that plays out with the bosses where they like one player in particular will like handle things well and do most of the fighting, right? Yeah, there we go. She's distracted by a diverger. That's my chance. And then other players end up just dying a lot. And then eventually someone kills the boss. But it's not really that much like, how often does one Viking save another Viking's life or heal the Viking just in time in combat? Like, I think that Valheim itself, as far as its multiplayer combat goes, let's just forget about the lag issues for a moment. It needs a lot of work because there's not much actual interaction between the different players, if that makes sense. Like, it's very challenging for players to do good things for each other in combat. They can fight monsters. The aggro system works based on proximity, so it is possible, right, for a player to sort of get in the way of another monster. Ah, shit. It is possible. But, wow, they didn't see me? That is bizarre. Alright. I just gotta get my stamina back and run. But in normal Valheim, that just doesn't really happen very much, is the thing. Oh, he saw me. I should get back on this path. And also that combined with the lag and everything, it makes a lot of situations that end up not working out very well for players. And they get sort of burned by the multiplayer combat experience, basically. Doesn't go well for them. Oh, the Morgans comes up here, huh? Interesting. Interesting change of pace. I didn't realize Morgan were so fast. Yeah, that's right. That's right, you fall off the edge. Oh god. How did this... These Valkyrie are terrifying. I don't know how all these things keep getting set on fire, but I'm not complaining. I don't think I'm gonna live though. That seems to be a pipe dream. Because the Valkyrie, they can charge at you faster than you can run. So I could probably keep this up for a hot minute. Especially if that vulture sticks around. Ah, he sets himself on fire when he does that attack. Interesting. Well, I'm glad that the bubble in the Ashlands lasts for a solid 2 minutes. I wonder if I could I use that? You know, I'm wondering if I could use one of those things to break my bubble, but I don't want to risk it, to be honest. I think it's gonna get me. What about this? You missed! What is this? There we go. Oh my god. The power of the bubble block. Well, you see, now I couldn't illustrate it earlier, but as long as I keep this one bubble shield active, I could probably kill this, yeah, because she hurts herself. She sets herself on fire every time she does that attack. So eventually she'll kill herself that way. Eventually. No! Oh god. I didn't see that at all. Oh my goodness. Bubble me, please. Bubble me. Bubble me, vulture. Bubble me. Just one attack. Why are you not bubbling me? Bubble me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh. That was terrifying. That was absolutely terrifying. I can't even go back now. I can't cross that spot. Oh my god. Oh, okay. Yeah, bubble block saves the day. And this is a great illustration of the mechanic, actually, because now you see, like, what I mean by you can use bubble blocking so that you don't die in one hit. I do not like this spot, though. Where did the path go? Oh, here it is. Alright. So I can... There you go. I keep refreshing it. And the bubble block is actually stronger depending on the later biome that you're in. And that's why I'm getting a 4-minute bubble block right now. It's because in the Ashlands, you get the strongest block that you can. And you can see that even with my unarmed skills and everything, I'm able to survive Whereas if I didn't block and I lost that bubble, or I didn't have all this health food, it would be game over, like, immediately. That's why, even though I'm running, I took all health food, because it actually works really well on Palm because of the bubble block system. Which is great, because that was the whole point. I kind of had this feeling before that, like, endgame melee and health food just kind of became useless. I always ended up using a lot of stamina or eater food, especially once you get the bubble shield. I mean, it's crazy powerful. Even in normal Valheim, when you get it, it's just absurdly powerful. And funnily enough, it was actually because of the normal shield. I noticed that Palm, it became much more manageable and almost like more calm and enjoyable once I got the bubble shield. So I was like, why don't we just have the bubble shield be available to anybody? How could we do that? And that led to this system, right? These guys are scary. I gotta say, the 2-star summon Twitchers, there's something about the way they look. It's just so awesome. Like, genuinely awesome. Terrifying place though, right? You know, I will say, even with the bubble shield and everything, I'm still kind of shocked that I'm alive. I was not expecting that. But now, once you get one bubble shield, it is a lot easier. It's because I'm not trying to be offensive. Not offensive. I mean, like, I'm not trying to attack enemies. Because the moment you get hit, when you're placing an attack, you don't get the bubble back. So then I'm liable to just die in one hit, because all these attacks do loads of damage. So there we are. And this is part of the endgame experience, but it's not the whole thing. I keep getting distracted by the intensity of the Ashlands, but maybe now the Ashlands will give me a break, and I'll be able to make this work. So pretty much, the boss fights have timers. And the reason for that as well is because I want to be able to make it so that the bosses are easier when other players show up. Base Valheim, it's sort of the opposite. Bosses can be easier, but not reliably. Because one, lag becomes really bad when there's a lot of other players around. So in a boss fight with ads in particular, it could be problematic, although having a player to deal with the ads in the first place makes a huge difference either way. But my point is that there's not a whole lot of incentive aside from that. Whereas, imagine you get extra time to kill the boss per player. So the more people you bring, the more time you get to kill the boss, making it easier to kill the boss, and also making it so that even if you bring a player who just chills in a hut nearby, you know, keeping food stocked or whatever, they're still contributing to giving everybody more time to kill the boss. So that's the basic mechanic of all of the bosses in Path of Magic. They function that way. They are meant to be much harder group experiences that force players to try out other experience. Oh, wow, you can't get a... that was foolish of me. So I blocked, but I didn't get a new bubble. So I lost my bubble. Tragic. It's good to know. I didn't know that you could not get your bubble from the explosive attack. And so this short time limit, like I said, 2 minutes, that's only for Eek, because to be honest, Eek, let me put it this way, even if you make Eek like a 30-40 starred Eek, he's still very, very weak compared to the other bosses. Mostly because of how little health he has. So it's important to sort of keep that in mind. You have to do a lot to Eikthyr in particular to make him on the level of the other bosses. And the general idea in Palm with the bosses is, instead of making it clearly Eikthyrs easiest, then Elder, then Bone Mass, I don't like that. I want it more flat. So it's like each boss is the Forsaken of that biome. They are the god. They are like a powerful entity. They shouldn't just be something that some random Viking can just die, go into Valhalla, and then, what, kill them to make the player feel powerful? Nah. There's other ways to make the player feel powerful. I think the bosses need to be dangerous. They need to feel powerful. They need to put the Viking soul in its place. And that is very important. They serve that purpose well. Because lore-wise, I mean, they're the Forsaken. What do you just like come into this existence, make a crude bow, or like, I don't know, a stone axe, and suddenly you can kill the electric deer god? Like, what the hell is that nonsense? I don't like it. Eikther's so awesome. Like, he's one of the cooler boss fights. And it is definitely fun from a linear perspective. But then players don't respect Eek, and I think they should respect the bosses. And the only way players respect bosses is if the bosses slaughter them, but in a way that, you know, it seems alright. It's alright, it's fair. And that's the balance part that's tricky. And on Palm, it's not just time limits, it's not just these other mechanics. The bosses themselves are also significantly more challenging. Like, we're talking about way more challenging here. I see. Let's, no, what is it? Remove drops, I think? There we go. Sometimes players bring, like, crazy weapons, and I don't mind, like, if you bring a crazy weapon to explore yourself, that's one thing. But if you cause a crazy weapon to exist on the server, yeah, kind of problematic. Because other people can come across things like that. So I don't really like it when people leave stuff around, because it interacts with other people. So there's actually a mechanic on Palm that notices that. I don't know if you noticed, but right now it's in, like, kind safe mode. Can I think I can do this. Yeah, alright. Right now the mechanic's in safe mode, so it doesn't auto-delete things. But normally if you bring like a super powerful weapon and you like toss it into the game world, it'll just get destroyed. But right now it's all for testing and everything, so I just have it set that it like says something when that happens. It doesn't actually do anything. But it's really problematic, to be honest. And that's like one of the bigger issues with Valheim. Like, players can just like spawn, especially if they know what they're doing. They can just make like crazy powerful things. This is bad. I think that enemy does more than this amount. Can you fall? Can you fall off the edge, please? Please? Oh my gosh. I don't like these odds. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Why don't you leave me alone, Mr. Askspin? Yes, leave me alone. No, you run so fast. Stop running so fast. Why don't you go this way? Yes, there we go. There we go. There we go. Come on, mister. Oh, no. Oh! Oh, that was good. Oh, that was a good one. That was a good hole. That was solid. I had a feeling he was going to get me. As soon as I had the rested bonus gone. And that attack, that character does so much damage too. I may have been able to get another bubble shield if I blocked. But for now, that is it. So now I'll show you something that you can do if you find yourself in a situation like this, where I'm inevitably gonna get spawn camped here. Or maybe he'll actually destroy the bed. That works out. So you can actually reset your spawn with the command. And this isn't a Palm thing. Anybody can go /reset spawn. And then it's gonna make it so that when you wake up, you're just in the center of the world. Back to the very, very beginning. And don't worry, it was very naive to think that I would make it all the way. I actually almost did, to be honest. So next time I'll do that with like some kind of actual, you know, equipment or something. But it was also really fun to try. I'm not gonna lie, that was really interesting. So I'll talk a little bit more about the boss situation, because it's important that people understand, because it's gonna be a whole era of the testing in Path of Magic. the boss fights themselves, I believe, have the potential to become sort of like instances in other MMOs, where groups of players do things together to fight a boss. The key, though, is that the boss fights need replayability. Right now, they have none. They have, like, negative replayability from my perspective. I love the boss mechanics. Like, I love the animations, how they look, but how they end up getting fought is not, I don't think it's a good experience, if that makes any sense. The key is to make them fun and enjoyable, and that is tricky. It's a very tricky thing to wrap the mind around, in all honesty, because in itself, the bosses currently are in such a temporary, finite state, where again, like, I believe that the bosses are only even, like, memorable for people because they do things together and they have these, like, experiences together. And then that makes those memories. But I don't think it's actually, like, the boss fights themselves being so fun that players have those memories. I think really what's going on is that players have those memories because they're hanging out with a group of other people and they're having fun because of that. The boss fights itself, it's not very replayable, really. There's not much variability. The bosses, you know, I mean, sometimes their pathfinding doesn't work. Things don't even occur to make them fight properly. So it's a whole lot of work to figure out how to redo that. And I think I know what to do. The idea is to take the elements that make 5-man dungeons in MMOs fun mechanically, like a group working together on something. And if I can make that experience entertaining enough to repeat, I think it'll work. The trick, I figured out how to incentivize players. I figured out how to balance the bosses, the health. They're all like, I get how that part needs to work. I know how hard the bosses need to be. The thing, though, is that the players need to be able to try to kill a boss 10 times in a row, fail every single time, and have an absolute blast. Think about that for a second. The player needs to make multiple attempts, and that experience be fun. Okay? Because the bosses cannot give a reward good enough to make the experience enjoyable. And why do I say that? Because they are end game bosses. You can't give strong gear as the reward. I've learned this the hard way. One of the harder things to balance, because it's so abstract, and you need to understand player psychology so well, is how to reward players for things. Because if you do what the game does, and let's say you give them a silver sword, okay, they get a cool silver sword. Yes, that is useful, genuinely useful. But then what happens to the existing way to get the silver sword? It's not useful anymore, is it? So that's what's so tricky about rewards, is you basically have to reward everything in a way where it doesn't invalidate itself. You see what I'm getting at there? And that is very, very tricky. And I believe that you should not give rewards that are weapons or armor in general. It's better to give what I refer to as abstract rewards. And this is something that I've only been learning more recently. It's more of a, let's call it an advanced concept. But basically, because we can make mechanics, we can identify pain points in the player's experience and give them mechanics that ease that pain. The result is a reward that feels meaningful to the player. Makes sense? Because if we give them a progression item, now they can't do the basic progression. We've now taken away something from them by what we rewarded them with. You see what I'm getting at? Every reward comes with a consequence. Every single reward. And that's why it's usually best to use abstract rewards, because they are less likely to interfere with other mechanics. Make sense? So in general, I follow that mentality on Path of Magic. I use rewards that are abstract when possible. And that's the thing with the bosses. If bosses use typical reward schemes to motivate players, the player will kill the boss, and then the world itself will be less meaningful. The rewards that the world provides will be less impactful to the player because they got that super powerful boss drop or whatever it is. So instead, I believe in focusing on practicality, figuring out how to make a mechanic that rewards players. And as far as the boss fights go, part of that we have, figured out a little bit. Okay, for Eikthyr, when you kill Eikthyr, you get an invincible cart. Okay? It's the only way to get an invincible cart. That's kind of useful. You can boat it around. There's things you can do with an invincible cart that you can't do with other things. It's not enough, in all honesty. And that's where I have this theory that nothing is enough in endgame boss fights. And the only thing that can work is making the act of fighting the bosses so interesting to do with other people that people just do it for fun. Make sense? It's like they don't do it to try and get something. They maybe do it that way once or something, but then they end up having a good time and being curious about how it works. Make sense? That's the thing to figure out. And I have some theories. This is all theoretical stuff, and I'm talking about it because the server, as I continue these playthroughs, right now I'm focused on dungeons and doing some more balancing stuff, especially for new players, so that Palm is I want to get Palm to be very polished for the beginning part, just so that when new players join, unnecessary mistakes aren't happening. They're not having a particularly abrasive time. They're educated about the mechanics. That's what I'm focused on right now. There's a lot of work I need to do for that. But the next thing, sort of after these dungeons and this newcomer experience focus, is these boss fights. And I think the key is to make the boss fights variable. Basically, every boss fight needs to be different. In order for it to be fun and interesting, you need to, be able to summon a boss and feel like, oh, I want to do that again and see what happens, right? If players feel that way, if players feel that way, I have a feeling things will work out. So the question is, how do we bring enough variability for players to feel like they can keep resummoning a boss and experience something different? Well, I have some ideas I'll talk about, but at first I want to talk about something that everybody on Path of Magic should know. This is another a warning, actually. I need to explain this. On Palm, you can lose your tombstone in dungeons. So like that, if you leave a tombstone like that, and the dungeon resets, it's gone. You permanently lose everything. So in cases where that happens, and somebody didn't know, I'm willing to restore it. I can just pull it from the backup. But just keep that in mind. If you die in a dungeon and you don't get your body back, you can lose your stuff. And because of the way dungeons work in Palm, they are much more dangerous. So it's completely possible for you to go to the end of an empty hallway and then you turn around and there's a bunch of monsters behind you and you're stuck. And like, you have to use silver arrows and you have to use palm mechanics to get yourself out of that. And new players, like, if they don't know about that stuff, that they're not going to be able to get out of it. That's just how it is. And that's one of the problems. Like, I have to figure out how I can ensure that by the time a new player enters a dungeon, they, with guarantee, know about these things. Like, I have to be able to figure that out. And that's something that, you know, by people joining and having their experiences, we learn these things. But essentially, the thing that I was getting at with the bosses is, what if the bosses helped each other? Because they're all Forsaken, right? I mean, they're sort of all on the same team. And even, I think lore-wise, like, aren't, like, Fader and Motor, aren't they, like, a thing or something? Like a dragon couple or something? I don't know. I don't know if that's how it works, but I swear there's some insinuations that they got it going on, you know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure that the Forsaken in general, they're sort of like on the same team, so to speak. So what if while you're fighting, because again, the boss fights on Palm are really, they're more like much more challenging. You're incentivized to bring other players, to plan accordingly, to set up traps, to summon monsters, to prepare, etc., etc., etc. So what if, while you're fighting the boss, the other bosses join and do temporary things? You know what I mean? So like, maybe you're fighting, I don't know, you're fighting Motor, and every minute the boss makes a roll to call another boss's special ability or special attack or whatever. And then a like ghost, or basically the boss shows up, but in a way, in a scripted way where I make them disappear. So it's like they're a phantom, right? So you're fighting one boss, and then another boss shows up for a little bit and like does their signature attack against you or something, and then they leave, right? And then maybe they leave a raid of goblins or whatever, you know? Maybe you're fighting something like Fader or whatever, and then the queen shows up or not the queen, sorry, your glyph shows up for a moment, and you get a goblin raid, and also then some meteors start showing up, and then your glyph goes away. You see what I'm getting at? Like that I think that is the key to it. If we can make the boss fights themselves really interesting, so that each time the player tries, something different happens. And I'm not talking about like just these boss attacks. I'm envisioning it like, it needs a lot of variability. Like sometimes you join and like you get some help for something. There's more Verger that fight or something like that, and they distract the other monsters. And every time you fight, there's monsters fighting other monsters, and chaos. And like, I love that. I can't get the monsters to fight each other, or sorry, the bosses to fight each other, but we can get the monsters to fight each other. And personally, one of my pet peeves, one of the things I really hate about the boss fights is how that like all the monsters are just obsessed with the player. Like, I don't like that in games where everything is chasing the player. It just doesn't feel interesting to me. I like it when there is combat between different enemies, when the player is part of conflict that isn't just towards the player. It feels too artificial when you're surrounded by 20 monsters and they have no internal conflict with each other. They're freaking bloodthirsty monsters. You think they only attack humans? Like, that doesn't make any sense, you know? Like, the goblins in these things are violent and brutal. I mean, I guess they like farming wheat and barley, so who knows? Maybe they're actually very peaceful and we're just the violent, brutal ones. I could have this all wrong, you know? But that's one of the ideas with the boss fights. And it's going to be a whole era in Palm. And once I inevitably do get back to the place, basically the next playthrough, so what I'll do tomorrow is I'll go through the Ashlands area again, but actually with some proper, like food and like some stamina potions and stuff, and some like Fenring gear or something. So I'll be able to actually make it to the area, because believe it or not, the Ashlands part ends, and then the path starts going north again. And that's where it goes to some other continents that are more peaceful. There is a whole island of pure black forest that I'm thinking will be a perfect spot for a player city project. Because it's got a walkway from the ocean to this black forest area, and then if that whole area is laggy, it won't cause a lot of problems, because then the walkway goes from there to the Fader Arena. And it's this whole... Whoa, very cool. I see that Jerry has been working on his base. It's very cool seeing it unfold. Very, very cool. You were making a cool treehouse, I see. But basically what I was saying is that the Ashlands part of the path isn't the end. It's actually just one part of it. And it keeps going past there, and there's a whole safe area. And I have this plan. It's basically like the Ashlands path ends, and then the path goes to a new continent each time on its way to the deep north. And each continent it visits is some kind of experience or campaign for endgame stuff, basically. I got a whole plan with loads of layers to it, so I'm excited to be able to tease it a little bit, because I can tell that, like, yeah, it's fun stuff. And my life's freed up. I got the next year to work on this, and even if I don't earn like that much money, it's okay. I have a feeling I'm gonna be able to do some awesome stuff, because up until this point I was mostly learning. Like for the past 9 months I've been practicing scripting, and like I didn't know how to do it in the beginning, and now I'm very capable. I can teach other people to do it. I'm not the best scripter, but I can like dissect a script and understand what's going on. I'm in a much better position to develop mechanics now. So I'm very excited to see how this all plays out, to be honest. It'll be very, very interesting. And I think the boss fights are part of it. The idea is the boss fights are like an entertaining thing players can do together for fun that builds camaraderie between people, and that is the reward. That's what I want to focus on. I want to focus on that, because I don't believe that there's any other kind of reward that would actually work for the long-term feeling of the game. Because if I give anything powerful, it invalidates other stuff. So if I give powerful experiences, then that can make the whole world itself feel more immersive, right? So that's the attitude that I'm gonna take. And I'll see you in the next video. I'm actually gonna head out, and I'll be here tomorrow. I stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings for me, starting either 3:30 or 4 a.m. Sometimes I stream a bit longer. Today I don't have as much time. I got some other stuff to work on. But basically, I'm usually doing a playthrough on one of my characters called Lab Rat. But right now I'm on a different character to show off how Palm works and to make some content that's easy for people to watch, so that you can actually join the server yourself if you want to check it out. Because I need more play testers. I need to kind of see how people do and then make mechanics based off of those experiences. The pillar of my belief in game development, I guess there's many pillars, but one of the most important things, and I'll end with this, is that ideas are pointless. Ideas don't matter. None of that stuff matters. All that matters is observation of players or playing. Okay? So when you play, you'll have experiences. And you, as you're playing, are observing these experiences. These will cause things to happen where you notice a problem or you notice a feeling. That is the best thing to design off of. Not some theory, not some hypothetical idea. Yeah, I've told you stuff about bosses. That's great, whatever. The stuff that actually matters is what people experience when they fight them. That is what leads to the best part of game design. Hello, Kylie. I hope you're well as well, but by your format and sentence structure, I'm assuming that you are one of those Discord people, so I'm just going to wrap up now. And that's my mentality with the game development, is that Yeah, there's ideas, and people may think I have good ideas. Whatever. I don't believe ideas matter. Everyone has billions of ideas. There's billions of humans, and we have hundreds of thousands of thoughts every day. So every single idea you've ever had is being experienced by other people. Nothing's unique in that sense. The difference is those who can take observation and leverage it. Those create what others perceive as good ideas. But really, the best ideas aren't ideas people think of. They are observations of things that happen while people play, while others play, while you play. You're going to notice problems. You're going to notice things that show up, things that occur. And your ideal situation is to develop based on the things that show up. And the reason that this doesn't happen in video games is because it's very hard to plan for. Like I'm practicing community live development of something, right? That means that you're developing something, you don't have a clear time frame for when it's going to finish. You don't need funding. And you don't have a clearly defined set of what it needs to be. You can be flexible and loose, and you can allow players to join, to contribute to the project, and literally shape what it becomes. And this is so fulfilling for me. It is a kind of game development that I find incredible. And now I see that I never want to work for a game development company. I never want to have a game development company. I want to work communally, where other people could copy what I do, fork it, and take it, but I do so much stuff that it's just hard to do that. And when you have a big community working on things together, people can't copy you because it's that communal effort that makes the unique product, right? And I keep using product, but I'm not saying like something to sell. I'm just saying like something being created by people. In this case, an altered version of Valheim. It's not going to be paid for or anything. It's just something freely available. People can put on their servers. People can put on single player. I'll try and make money by having people rent servers and they can use it, but they can also just set it up for free. And that's my attitude. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope that you have a fantastic morning, and I'll see you tomorrow.